So, what am I saying? What I'm trying to say is that whatever church that you're at, if the present truth or the message that is needed, that is needful at this time, in this day and age, for you and I to be saved, or for you and I to wake up, or for you and I to be pricked in our hearts and in our minds to search the scriptures and to look through the Word of God and to see what is happening and what is going on and where we are in a stream of time. Because the spirit of prophecy has said that there is a guidepost on the way onto the heavenly kingdom, the road to heaven. God has literally put signpost, not side post, signpost on the way into the heavenly kingdom. And so we are required to know when his coming is near. We don't know the dates. We're not setting dates. We don't know when, but we are required to know when it is near. I was reading something in John 14 today, and Jesus Christ was telling the Pharisees that were questioning him that you know the signs. You know when a small cloud is in the east or in the west, you know it's going to rain, right? You know when the change, the wind blows from different directions, you know what's going to happen. How is it that you don't know that I am here? I, the Savior, is here. So am I saying leave the Seventh-day Adventist church? God forbid. It is the church of Christ. It is the church of God on this earth. I say that with no apology. It is the only church that has the truth on this planet. What I'm saying, though, is that if the church that right now you are worshiping at is not preaching the present truth, is not talking about the prophecies, is not discussing the prophetic times and where we are in a stream of things, if they're not talking about what is happening in the sanctuary, what Christ is doing for you and me in the sanctuary, because his death was just the first phase of the plan of salvation. What he's doing now in the sanctuary is the second phase, right? So if that is not being talked about, if what else is it that we have? If the spirit of prophecy is not being discussed, there are some churches that refuse to read the spirit of prophecy, and there are some churches that don't want the prophet being read. They don't want that testimony of Jesus Christ, which is the spirit of prophecy, to be read. If they refuse to read the spirit of prophecy, that church is not the church where you need to be at. I have to say that again. If the present truth is not preached, if the prophecies are not being looked into and taught and read, if you're not being warned as far as the times in which we live, then that is not the church for you. Leave that church and find another Seventh-day Adventist church that is teaching those things, that is serious about their salvation, that is serious about God saving them. But let me tell you, you're not going to heaven with your pastors. What I mean by that is being saved by God is an individual affair. Your character, the relationship that you have with Jesus Christ, meaning allowing him to sanctify you, to come into your heart, my heart, to live with you, to clean the defects, to clean the sins, to clean the cobwebs, for lack of a better word, out of your life and my life. That relationship with him, that is what is of value, that is going to take you to heaven. And so if you are in a church that those things are not being taught, if you are in a church that is kind of content with just going with the flow, Sabbath after Sabbath, all that is they're concerned with is meetings and activities and sing songs and this and that, and the real meat of the word, or the prophecies, the prophetic instructions that we have. That is the guidepost, that is a signpost that is leading us into the kingdom of heaven and telling us the times in which we live and the things that we need to do, because you have an obligation. I have an obligation to know what is required of me. God is going to save us by what we know and how we allow what we know to do in our lives. And we're also not going to be saved by what we did, not just by what we knew and didn't do anything about, but what we didn't know and didn't want to know or didn't strive to know. And so I'm not saying leave the Seventh-day Adventist Church, never that. This is the church that is going on into the kingdom. The sinners in Zion are going to be shaken out. Those that refuse, like some people actually get angry. They get upset when you talk about E.G. White. They get upset when you talk about turning away from sin, putting away your sin. They get upset when you talk about don't eat meat, eating of meat, temperance. They get literally, visibly, physically upset. If those things are happening in your church, that's not where you should be. That is if you're serious about your life, if you're serious about your walk with God, if you're serious about your salvation. Having your name on a church books means nothing. Absolutely nothing. What is of utmost importance is having your name written in the records of God. And so if you're in the church, in a Seventh-day Adventist church, and those things, spirit of prophecy, present truth meaning reading the word, finding out what is happening in the prophecies, where we are in a stream of time, as far as the mark of the beast, the mark of the beast, prophetic things, the mark of the beast, the Sunday law, the things that are going to happen when the Sunday law is passed, how to avoid getting the mark of the beast. If those things are not being taught and preached, leave that church. Find another SDA, Seventh Day. Let me be clear. Find another Seventh-day Adventist church that is teaching those things and that is serious. That is so serious about God, about salvation, and about the salvation of others. And go to that church. God is so serious about saving me and you. God is so serious about us simply surrendering to Him. Most of us in the SDA church today have surrendered to the world. We have surrendered to Satan. We have given up and given in. And most of us have been baptized without knowing the pillars, the present truth pillars, what the church really teaches, the present truth pillars of our church. Most of us have been baptized into the church without knowing that there's so many things. There are people today in the SDA church that are still wearing jewelry and have on makeup and all that. It is because they don't know, or they're not reading for themselves what God requires of us. And so all I'm simply saying is, don't leave the Seventh-day Adventist church. No. Don't leave the boat. It's a boat that you must stay in. But those that refuse to teach the people the requirements of God, they're going to be shaken out. Find another church, another Seventh-day Adventist church that is teaching the word, is serious about God, is serious about their soul salvation and your soul salvation and the salvation of others, and go to that church. God requires it. God is expecting it. And all He's looking for me and you is to turn our backs to the world and surrender. Surrender to Him. And how do we surrender? You cannot on your own just surrender. We surrender through the word. We surrender through reading the word, seeing what God has done for us, seeing what God has done for us, who God is, his love, his mercy. One day I'll make a video about the suffering of God, the sufferings he has suffered from the beginning. He's still suffering today because his children refuse to surrender and turn to him. So let's surrender to God. Any church, Satan has really, in our church today, Satan himself is in the pulpit. His minions are in the pulpit. His demons are in the pulpit. And he's filled the church with his demons and with, for lack of a better word, witchcraft. All that is in the church today. And he's made sure that he's put his minions guarding the gates. The gates of learning about the prophecies, the gates about the Sabbath, how to really worship God on the Sabbath, the gates about the spirit of prophecy, the gates about temperance and the health message that we have. He's put gate guards around those gates to make sure that those gates are locked and that you and I don't have access to that. And so what he's got most of our preachers preaching is just watered down messages. Messages that makes you feel good, not the message that will really prick your heart and my heart so we can turn away from sin. Because sin is our enemy. Sin is what is going to separate me and you from God. And the only way that we can fully surrender and turn away from sin is to read the word. It is the word that is going to draw us closer to him. It is the word that is going to open our eyes to see the love of God and the love of Jesus. It is the word that is going to humble us and see our need to surrender to the Master. And so I'm not saying leave the Seventh-day Adventist Church, God forbid. Never will. Until my last breath, that's where I'll be. It is the only church on this planet that God is going to use to finish his work. His eyeballs are on that church 24/7. Even though Satan has control of the church as we speak, and he has so many faults, and has done so many things that should not be done, and it is doing so many things that the world is doing today, it is still God's church. His eyeballs are on it 24/7. He never takes his eyes off his bride, his pride, his church. And those that refuse to obey and listen to him, he's going to shake all of them out. He's going to make up his jewels in that church and shake us and shake the sinners out of the church. And he's going to use the rest of the remnant, the people that are willing to surrender, the people that are willing to follow him wherever he goes. He's going to use those folks to finish the work. You can be part of it. I can be part of it. We just simply have to surrender and let him do his work in our lives. Wherever you are, my brother and my sister, God bless you. God keep you, and God protect you, and God give you the yearning for him and his word. Be blessed.